Hi, everyone. We are from Indonesia, and we are very glad to present our study in Melta Online Conference 2021. I'm Rohi Batulutfia from Universitas Swadaya Gunung Jati Cirebon with my two esteemed colleagues, Bapak Bambang Yudi Cahyono and Ibu Francisca Maria Ivon from Universitas Negeri Malang. We would like to present our paper entitled Classroom-Based Assessment Practices during Emergency Remote Teaching in Indonesia, Challenges and Opportunities. So we'll start our presentations with the background of the study, explaining the rationale why this study is prominent to be conducted, and followed by exploring some relevant studies, and then the way we conducted the research, and we also will explore the findings as well as the discussions, and it will end with the conclusion. So I will start with the background of the study by giving the current situations in Indonesia, especially in education sector. As we know that starting at the beginning of 2020, many education stakeholders all over the world, including in Indonesia, have opted to shift teaching and learning activities from face-to-face to distance learning or online learning mode as a mitigations and prevention strategy to reduce the spread of coronavirus in school environment. However, we can highlight here that the transformation is very fast, and it is called emergency remote teaching, as it is different with the common online teaching, where in emergency remote teaching, the teaching mode activated in response to a crisis or something beyond human control, such as war situations or the outbreak of pandemic. And it is usually temporarily conducted, and the implementation is usually lack of preparation. So the shifting from the concept of online learning to emergency remote teaching has brought new challenges and opportunities in teaching practices, especially when we know that in Indonesia, we have various conditions of schools. Some schools are good in infrastructure and also the quality of teacher and students to conduct online learning, while other probably not as fortunate as others. This situation results in different experience of teachers in implementing emergency remote teaching. And as one of the pivotal activities in teaching and learning process, classroom assessment practice also receive a great attention among scholars to be discussed how the teachers experience classroom-based assessment during emergency remote teaching. So we look back to the nature of the term of classroom-based assessment. It refers to the assessment carried out by the teacher in the classroom to support teaching and learning. It may be used both formative and summative purposes. Teachers have the authority to design and administer the task for classroom-based assessment independently. However, its practices is influenced by some contextual variables, such as educational policy, sociocultural factors, teachers' perceptions, beliefs, and literacy, and other factors. So related to the outbreak of the coronavirus, the pandemic has resulted in a substantial impact of English language education, including classroom-based assessment. The disruptions urge teachers to implement different strategies in assessment practices based on their context, as we know that we should implement various kind of strategies in different contexts, because there is no the best strategies that can fit for all conditions. So by exploring the teacher's experience in practicing classroom-based assessment during emergency remote teaching is worth doing to understand the strategies, challenges, as well as the opportunity that might be occurred during the implementations of CBA in ERT. So how we conduct the research? There are 5 experienced English secondary teachers from heterogeneous contexts in West Java, Indonesia, were confirmed voluntarily to be participated in this study. They are teachers who have sufficient experience in conducting online assessment in emergency remote teaching. At least they have 1 to 2 semesters of experience and ever joined some continuous professional development activities focusing on the use of technology in English language teaching. It means that we as the researcher assumes that the participants that involved in our study are the ones who are familiar with the situations of emergency remote teaching, and also they have sufficient knowledge about how to use the tools or technology tools in doing online assessment. They were invited to participate in online semi-structured interview using Zoom Cloud Meeting, and all data collected from the interview were recorded and transcribed verbatim. After doing the iterative reading process, the data were analyzed using thematic analysis, followed 6 steps from Brown and Clark in 2006. So we try to get familiar with the data, and then after that, we try to generate the initial codes, search for themes, review the themes, define the name of the themes, and the last is to produce the report. So now we come to the findings. We would like to divide the findings into 3. The first is the teacher strategies, and then the second is some hindrance in conducting CBA in ERT, and the last one is the opportunity. So starting from the online assessment strategies implemented by the teachers, there are mainly 2 strategies that the participants try to practice in their classroom. The first is narrowing the assessment criteria. In order to minimize the burden of students and to provide some achievable targets, teacher design a simple and flexible task consisting of 1 to 2 indicators for 1 task. Additionally, participants also felt relieved when the Ministry of Education gave the authority to all schools to use flexibly the emergency curriculum. This curriculum is mandated in the beginning of a pandemic situation where the school should close their face-to-face classroom and shift it into online classroom. This policy can reduce the burden of teachers and students to achieve the standard learning outcome. And also, it can help teachers as well as the students to maintain their well-being in this crisis time. Okay. And the second strategy is the participants try to provide online quizzes as daily tasks to monitor students' learning progress using some engaging platforms such as Kahoot or Quizzes. So they are focusing on giving the daily quizzes to know the student understanding, to monitor the student weaknesses or strengths in learning in the classroom. Interestingly, some participants design a different form of doing the daily task. Due to the connectivity issues, so some participants design an assessment in collaborated with the teacher support group and try to broadcast it live on the local TV channel. So as we know that because the participants think that not all students have supported connections of internet and supported gadget for learning, especially for doing the task. Therefore, they try to give the alternative way for conducting the daily assessment by broadcast it in a local TV channel. Where while the situations of transformation in emergency remote teaching does not give any chance or opportunity for the teacher to prepare. Thus, the teacher also finds some hindrance during the emergency remote teaching, especially in doing or conducting online assessment. The first challenge and the most prominent challenge is readiness. Readiness covers teachers' readiness to conduct online assessment. It is related to the way the teacher design an online assessment, the way the teacher distribute an online assessment, the way the teacher construct and also score the online assessment result, and so on and so forth. It is closely related to the online assessment literacy that the teacher have. And the second one is due to the weaknesses of, due to the limited of knowledge of technology use that the teachers have, so that they think that they don't have enough preparations or readiness to conduct online assessment. And then the other readiness is related to student readiness, where in online assessment, the situation are different with the face-to-face learning. In online assessment, the students have their own responsibility to do their task. They should be able to work independently during emergency remote teaching. So this also become a big issue, especially for the students. The last thing related to readiness is parents' readiness to support and monitor their children learning during study from home. As the ones who are very close with students at home, parents has their own role in doing emergency remote teaching. They should support and monitor and help the teachers and also the students to learn at home. Unfortunately, due to the hard time amidst the pandemic situations, parents also feel that they are struggling with their life. So some parents, they do not have any time to support and monitor their children learning. Then the second hindrance is trustworthiness. Cheating and plagiarism are the common problems here in doing online assessment, because teachers feel that they cannot monitor students' progress as direct as in face-to-face learning. Therefore, sometimes the teacher felt skeptical when they found the similar answers of the students. They thought that the students just copy and paste the answer from internet. However, some participants try to give alternative solutions towards this challenge. One of the participants said that to avoid the cheating and plagiarism, they intend to conduct the authentic assessment, which is the assessment that relevant with the real world of the students. For instance, they ask the students to retell or to tell their daily activity during school at home, and so on and so forth. So by giving this kind of assessment, it can be minimize the cheating and plagiarism. And the other participant also said that they can give assessment that measure not only lower order thinking skills of the students, but also they give some project or a task which can measure the students' higher order thinking. It will give the more genuine answers from the students rather than we give the multiple choice question. And The next challenge is related to task workload issue. Students and parents felt fatigued and burdened because they have many assignments from each subject. Teachers were also overwhelmed to check and give feedback on students' work during emergency remote teachings. And based on the experience from one of the participant give or propose a solutions that actually this can be done by institutions or school. In her school, the headmaster tried to give a regulation to all teachers of the subjects that in a week, the students only get maximum 3 to 4 assignments from a different subject. And for the other subject, they might give the assignment for the next week. So maximally, the students will have 4 assignments in every week. Okay, and even though we are in a hard time in the amidst of pandemic situations, but we still should be grateful because we can find a silver lining in these situations. Some of the opportunities that can we find is first, there is a growing interest in practicing both formative and authentic assessment during emergency remote teaching. As we discussed before, that to avoid the trustworthiness, plagiarism, cheating, and so on and so forth. So the teacher should think creatively what kind of assessment design that can reduce the practice of cheating and plagiarism. So they think that focusing on authentic and formative assessment can be a good way that they can practice during emergency remote teaching. And we also found that there is a shifting orientations or the goal of assessment during emergency remote teaching. Some participants think that eliciting the evidence of students' strengths and weaknesses are more prominent than just providing score or marking. It means that the goals of assessment is more on the formative purpose rather than just collecting the score or giving a judgment to the student's ability. So we come to the conclusion after we have discussed and highlight some strategies, challenges, and opportunities experienced by teachers in emergency remote teaching in online assessment. We can take some points that we can learn or unlearn or relearn for the future time, especially to prepare the teachers to face the next disruptions. We never know what kind of disruptions situation that might be happen in education sector after this. So hopefully after we can prepare the teacher as well as possible so that they can face it in a better way. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. If you have some queries or questions, you may send it to my email. Thank you and see you.